Hi, my name is Matt Blakeley. I'm the Head of Sales and Marketing at Ludamis. I'm delighted to be here sharing the story of Ludamis with you at Northernlands, bringing together the city of Leeds and the Netherlands, where Ludamis is based, to celebrate artificial intelligence technology businesses and innovation that's going on in these areas. I'm delighted to be able to share what Ludamis are trying to do by reinventing cricket and allowing people to train like never before. For those of you who may not know much about cricket, cricket is truly a global sport. Whilst you'll know about the big powerhouses of England, Australia, South Africa and the subcontinent of India, cricket is played in over 100 countries that associate to the ICC, the global governing body for the game, and is growing at a rapid rate in some of those areas, not least in the USA, where in a couple of years we will have Major League Cricket, an international tournament drawing in the best players in the world playing cricket in America. And just around the corner from that, the plans afoot to have cricket at the 2028 Olympics in LA. A huge step change for the game and how it interacts, and how it then forms a part of some of the bigger countries that govern their sport and focus their sport on winning Olympic medals, and how grassroots sport in places like China, Russia and Germany will change as a result of that presence. The numbers behind cricket are huge. It's the second largest sport in the world, with over 1 billion fans, more than 300 million people playing the sport in a recreational format, and just a huge number of fans. And just to bring this to life, in 2017, India-Pakistan played the Champions Trophy final at the Oval in London, and the television viewing figures for that were over 1 billion people. India-Pakistan is such a huge game, but those numbers can't be argued with. To put that into some context, the Super Bowl is one of the biggest TV sporting events on the planet, and the Super Bowl annually gets about 500 million viewers globally. A World Cup final once every 4 years will touch somewhere near 1 billion fans. So for a sport to have something like the Champions Trophy with over 1 billion fans is huge. And the recent World Cup in 2019 that England successfully won, over 3 billion people interacted with online footage of that competition. Again, just showing the reach of the game and how far it's gone, and continues to grow and develop, whether that be the men's game or the women's game. And with that talk of the 2020 T20 Olympics in 2028, that potential market is just going to grow ever more. So let's talk a little bit about cricket and technology in cricket. Cricket's a very traditional game, still delivered and still trained in a very traditional way, probably as it has done for decades, if not the last 100 years plus. Training takes place in net environments at cricket clubs and grounds up and down the country. It takes place in fielding drills in a field. It's somebody hitting a ball to somebody and catching it. It's somebody bowling at somebody in the net. The technology is there for bowling machines, but that's not accessible to everybody. So it's very traditional, and it continues to be very traditional. Whilst some insight and some development has happened in the last 20 years or so, technology hasn't really embedded and changed that experience for many players. Still relying on that experience of bowling and bowling in the nets and repetitively going over the same situations. And for many that can be boring, tiring and not very fun, and actually getting the most out of that is really difficult. If you're playing and you're working and you're a recreational player, you might only get an hour a week to go and train ahead of you playing a game on a weekend, and getting the most out of that hour is really difficult, and really hard to fit that in, and access to coaching and all the things that go around it is really difficult. But many of you will watch cricket on TV and seen footage from a simple run out being carried out by the third umpire, to Hawkeye being used for LBW decisions, snickometers for catchers, zinger bails to brighten up the experience. The technology has come on leaps and bounds in the last 20 years. In fact, cricket was at the forefront of developing third umpire and third official type decisions. And you look at kind of VAR and its mixed success in football in the last couple of years. It's been really it's really clear to see that technology is difficult to embed, but cricket is one sport that's had a real success with engaging in that. And if you look at the bottom of that screen and see pitch maps and pitch visions where people can see where balls have been bowled, where balls have passed a batsman, where runs have been scored, where the ball has been hit by the batsman. That level of data is there and it's available, and it's hugely important to somebody in developing their skills levels and developing and understanding their game more effectively. But that is only really available in that really elite level landscape where players have access to that kind of footage and the cameras and the infrastructure and resource that goes alongside that in an elite level environment. And some of those pitches are 10, 15 years old now. This isn't new, this has been around for a while, but hasn't trickled down and worked its way into the grassroots of the game and into the hands or the tools and abilities for your recreational players, for that 300 million cricketers across the planet. But we know technology is making a massive impact in sport. I remember Opta being mentioned and utilised in football as a child growing up, and people starting to track how far players ran and how many touches of the ball they had. And I've been using Strava for a good while now, nearly 10 years, in terms of tracking my own training as a cyclist and a failed and very bad runner, and again being able to engage with a global community of following elite athletes and your friends, and tracking that and using social media as a platform to share what you've been delivering has been great for me as a training tool, and is great for so many people. And there are umpteen other apps similar to that working in that space. But then you look at something like Skillist and Home Court, using artificial intelligence now to really unlock the training capabilities for players, giving them data points and analysis. On form at the top there, using video analysis to help everything from baseball to golf to show jumpers and how they tackle a hurdle. And then just last year, during the lockdown, the LTA making online training available for kids, and kids in their backyards being able to access coaching and use video footage to move their games forward. It was a huge game changer for so many kids up and down the country that were into tennis and wanted to continue to improve whilst not being able to attend their local tennis club. But technology is difficult to engage, and we've talked about cricket and its traditional training environments, and the people that have engaged with technology and cricket outside of the elite space of Hawkeye and the test arena where the television allows that data to be visible. It's not that straightforward. You've got a huge challenge of interacting and engaging with different technologies to get that relationship working. Email, WhatsApp, phone calls, video sharing files. It's so difficult to get that all in one place and all working seamlessly. And from the people that we've spoken to, it's a real challenge, and it's nowhere near as effective as they'd like it to be in that journey, both as a player and as a coach, and they're just not getting the most out of it. And I found Madan came up with the concept of Ludamis having his own journey and his own experience himself, wanting to improve his game, using video technology, and finding it was clunky, it didn't quite work as well as it could do, and then deciding to take his own technology skill set and make a real difference and move the game forward by founding and developing Ludamis. And the age bit is a huge challenge in sport, in such a traditional sport as cricket. It's got especially in the UK market, it's got a very different reputation, shall I say, in terms of who plays the game, who engages with the game. Club volunteers are often older in years, and people that do play and develop and come through don't necessarily have that technology to lean on and engage with. And I'm pretty sure that might be the kind of conversation that would come along if you went to a lot of club volunteers. They'd look to their juniors to embrace and engage in that technology rather than them relying on themselves. So making it as simple as possible is absolutely key. But we've got to remember that digital natives now are in their 30s, they're not in their teens anymore. They've moved on, they're moving out of their playing careers possibly into something else. They're looking at how they can coach, how can they coach more effectively. And it's about giving them tools and the ability to do that as effectively as possible. So at Ludamis we talk a lot about the feedback loop. We talk about that idea that you play you make mistakes, you train, you review your training. Am I working on the right things? Then you evaluate that review. Right, so I need to work on that. These are the things that I need to do. You set the drills and exercises. You work on that, and then you go back and play, and hopefully rectify some of those mistakes. But then the loop starts again because nobody's perfect. And the elite players will do this on a regular basis, and the recreational players find this difficult. And the review and evaluation point is just where I want to focus on just for a few seconds. Really honing in and making that clear. It's so important to review the right things and to evaluate and to make sense of what's going on in your game and what's going on in your experience. Absolutely so key to that whole experience as a player and as a coach. And the communication can be so confusing. I've heard so many conversations from players who have had Coach A and Coach B tell them two different things about the same problem with their game. So they're getting conflicting messages, and that's just a conversation at the end of a training session. It's not documented, it's not clear, it's not concise. So how do we help them make that better? And that's all Ludamis is all about. So Ludamis is indeed the world's first AI-powered online platform specifically focused on cricket. We provide coaching tools, tracking tools, and online access to some of the best coaches in the world. We wanted to make cricket fun and interactive as possible so that people enjoy training, enjoy learning, enjoy improving, and therefore are better players as a result, whether that be the next Joe Root or Heather Knight or just somebody that wants to be the best player they can be at their local cricket club. So we've talked about cricket being boring and repetitive. Training sessions are still done in a very traditional way. They're still done in the nets. Finding that time to get that feedback is difficult for the grassroots player. Accessing that technology, unless you're at the very top end of that sport, getting access to that just isn't there. And then documenting that. Unless you're really disciplined and have a notepad and keep track of what every coach has ever said to you, that's just not there, and it's really difficult to follow your own game. And often actually accessing those coaches we talked about internationally as a game, outside those big powerhouses, elite coaching is hard to come by. So what does the app do? It's app based on Android and Apple. We've also got a desktop platform. It allows you access to smart analysis of video coaching, breaks down a session into the shots that you've played, looking at some rudimental ball tracking analysis for bowlers and batsmen, which is absolutely imperative and something that normally is only come at the very elite level facilities, but something that could be in the palm of your hand on your mobile phone. Looking at biometrics for batters and bowlers as well, how joints move and how technology can allow you to understand the movements of your body in a far more granular detail than just visual. And that analysis and feedback, having that documented in one place, absolutely key for a player's development to understand and reflect on their game, reflect on the feedback they're getting from their coaches, and having that relationship continue to develop. Alongside that, creating that digital cricket community, that Strava of cricket, where players can benchmark themselves and follow themselves and track their own performance against other cricketers, not just in their club or at their school, but across the world. One of the success stories for the last 12 months we've been working with Netherlands Cricket and their elite level men's and women's teams. And their players are split between the UK and the Netherlands, playing at different standards, as are their coaches. Accessing those high-level coaches, as we said, is so difficult. Ludamis allows them to have excellent, powerful, AI-backed tools in their hand and have a constant dialogue about their development. Not wait for that training camp 6 months down the line, 3 months down the line. Had that ongoing relationship. They went to the nets, they worked on this, work on this. How does that work? Right, put that into practice in the nets. I want to see you do this. You don't have to be stood there in the room anymore. You can be in Holland in the office working on the administration of Dutch cricket whilst coaching players in the northwest of England, in the northeast of England, even in Leeds. So bringing that to life has been really powerful for that Dutch team, and the tools that they've used has made a massive impact on how they work with their players, and they'll be rolling that out to their junior teams in 2021, and again allowing coaches to interact much better with the players in the grassroots systems in Holland. Just a little bit about the team. So Madan, the founder and CEO of the business, huge technology background, and a huge cricket fan to boot, which always helps. As I say, he was trying to solve his own game at the same time. understood that the technology wasn't working and he could do a better job, and hence Ludamis. Working with Saeed, myself and Roberto in terms of development, trying to build an excellent, world-class, world-leading platform that works for cricketers across the world to have really powerful tools in the palm of their hand in their smartphone, and not relying on expensive technology and having the right facility, just having the technology as simple as a smartphone. And Frank and Abjit at the bottom, it's hugely important in terms of pointing the business in the right direction and supporting us on a day-to-day basis. And the passion for Ludamis is to disrupt the second largest sport on earth. What a challenge, what an opportunity. 300 million players, over 1 billion fans, and growing. And with the Olympics in the horizon, the opportunities for the game are huge. And we want to bring those outstanding, excellent tools into the palm of every cricketer in the planet. So thank you for taking the time, and look forward to listening to any questions you have. Thanks.
So I'm joined by Matt Blakeley from Ludamis, and again, I've said it before, so a cricket startup based in Amsterdam, selling technology, expanding in the UK. So tell us a bit more about what you're going to do next, I guess, after the pandemic.
So really interesting time. It's been difficult for a platform working in a sport that's not really been able to take place for the last 12 months. It's been really challenging. What has been really useful is seeing in countries like South Africa, where clients are using the platform, coaches and players still being able to interact without being in the same place. So that ability to create distance learning has been fantastic. And we've seen that in some of the countries that we work with as well, where their coaches are remote from their players because of international barriers and popularity of the game, etc. So that's been really huge, helpful, and a great learning curve for us as an organisation. The next step is to grow the user base. So it's growing the platform across clubs, schools, counties in the UK. Get more people using the platform. As we all know, the more people that are using it, the more you learn, the smarter the device and the platform can become. So it becomes a better experience for the user and a better experience for us in what we're developing in the medium to long term.
So I get this right. So it's going to be like every village cricket ground around the country is going to have someone with their mobile phone watching the bowler as he goes up and then correcting his arm as he goes over, yeah?
Yeah, it's bringing that technology that you see in the elite level of the game into the hands of every cricket player in every club or community setting up and down the country. So absolutely, yeah, it's having in the palm of your hand the ability to access coaches, to work with coaches, whether that's a coach in your club or that coach on the other side of the planet. You can get that feedback on your bowling action, how you're batting, what's going on in your game, like never before. So yeah, really opening up in market. And for a growing game like cricket, getting access to that coaching is really key for that talent development.
But are we going to be able to challenge an LBW decision on a Sunday afternoon?
Not quite just yet, no.
No.
Working towards it. I could see that in the next 10 years, but not just yet.
Yeah, but would it create more problems than it would solve? That maybe there's a.
Of course it would. You know it would.
Yeah. So tell there's a couple of questions. Just the future of Ludamis, and then the future of the product. So what you're looking at to change in the product, and then you're expanding in the UK. So just tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So the product itself. So there's two elements to it. One is a platform video coaching, which is a fairly uniform platform. There's other competitors out there doing similar things. So that platform's live. That's a free-to-use platform for clubs and players now to upload videos, annotate, get feedback on those videos. The artificial intelligence element is a bit that's been worked on. So the element that's live now, which is one of the premium features, is that ability to shorten down a batting session, so you don't spend your time watching a batter go and get a drink or adjust his pads or her pads or taking a helmet off. You get just the condensed shots that are being played. So using the artificial intelligence to really hone that down and saving about 60% of a coach's time in reviewing footage. The two other pieces are ball tracking and biometrics, so angles of joints and body movements for a bowler and a batsman, and then also the tracking of a ball from a bowler's hand in terms of line and length, not quite speed, but line and length. And they're the two really bits that we want to hone and focus on over the next 6 months to build those up and develop them and get them so they're really humming and working well, and that really adds to the premium features of the platform.
We just had a question in the chat. Can the platform be applied to baseball?
Interestingly, so there's quite a bit of artificial intelligence being used in baseball in the US. They've been doing this. Moneyball is probably well known from the film, and data in US sport is a lot further on than we see it in the UK, and particularly in cricket. So they've been trying to develop artificial intelligence platforms for baseball. So there's similarities in how they work, and we're aware of some of them. I'm not sure how that transition works, so it'd be interesting to do that analysis and to chat with our guys about what that would look like, but we'd love to have a chat. Okay,
great. So I think just find Matt on. Well, Matt's links are all in the talk. So yeah, over to you. Let's get you've got live product development happening.
Absolutely,
cool.
Yeah, it'd be great.
And then the future of Ludamis in the UK.
Yeah, so as I say, there's a lot of conversations going on at the moment at various levels of the game. Predominantly focused this year on grassroots and getting people using the platform and getting people used to using video technology. It's really alien in cricket. It's not something that's commonly used. Even at the elite level, the number of coaches using video coaching isn't that strong, isn't that well known. So we want to change that. We want to shift that in the recreational game, and then bring in the artificial intelligence on the back of it, just really drive that on and help people see how we can enhance that feedback loop that I talked about in the presentation, and enhance that coaching experience, regardless of what club you're at or what county you live in, that you can get access to high level coaching and develop your game. You don't have to all be aspiring to be the next Ben Stokes or Heather Knight, but just striving to be a better cricketer year on year and using technology to get you there.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Matt. It's been fantastic listening to. It's really fascinating as well listening to you, and obviously we're in God's own country in the home of cricket. You know that.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. So that's fantastic. Thank you, Matt, again. Thanks for joining us. Next up, we've got
thanks for having us on board.
Timo Sommer from Together Netherlands. We're going to talk about the future of work and well-being. So, and what I'm going to say is thanks, Matt.